What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moment of Clarity. Please take a second to share this. Let folks know I'm also going live on Rokfin, even though I almost destroyed Rokfin's ability to promote themselves on Facebook, which I'll get into in a minute. Not sure why I'm saying everything in this sing-songy voice. But yeah, take a second to share this, please. Let folks know all the donations in the super chat, all the donations on Rokfin, all the donations on Venmo at Lee Camp. They will all go to people who are struggling, people who need a little help. And if you are one of those people, email commentcensored@protonmail.com. I'm going to get into several cases of censorship just this week. I mean, honestly, it's like, I can't even keep up with it all. The crackdown that's going on social media, not just on my stuff. One of these examples is my stuff. The other two are not my stuff. But the crackdown that's going on is pretty incredible. And of course, it's getting no mainstream coverage. It barely gets coverage from some independent media. But I know you have not heard of at least 1 to 2 of these. One of them, because this will be the first time I'm telling anyone about it. So let's dig into it. I'll start off with mine, and then I'll get into the censorship that has hit other people, including someone who had received a contract with a mainstream media outlet. But so you guys know I'm on Rokfin, rokfin.com/LeeCamp. Even if you follow me on YouTube, I hope you subscribe over there. But so I joined Rokfin. Rokfin has been wonderful, very kind. They email with some of them, and they seem like great people. I'm not like besties. We haven't hung out. We haven't gone to the strip clubs yet. And anybody who thinks that's some sort of objectifying of women, I didn't say what gender these strip clubs would be. Okay, so just back off. Just back off a little bit. Don't touch the ladies. Back off. So, yeah, but they seem lovely. I'm not, like I said, it's great that I can even email with them, because most of these companies, like even a smaller one like Rokfin compared to Facebook, which is basically so large it's like a second internet. Even some of the smaller ones, they don't talk to people because they got too much shit going on. But Rokfin has been quite lovely. So when I joined Rokfin, they said, we're excited to have you. We want to, we see you have a large Facebook presence. You guys know about my Facebook page, which has been heavily suppressed, but it's still there. It's called Lee Camp Comedian is the name of the page. Used to be 335,000 followers. Now they've knocked that number down to like 320,000. Still pretty large. But so Rokfin, the guy Rokfin who deals with their marketing and stuff. Now Rokfin advertises on Facebook, right? It makes sense. Facebook's fucking giant. Why would you not advertise on Facebook if you're trying to create another platform? So they advertise on Facebook. And so he said, Lee, could we link to your account? You have to approve it so that we can have access to analytics, and so that we can put up for people that follow you, we can show them ads that just say Lee Camp has a Rokfin page. Join Lee Camp's Rokfin. And so I was like, all right, I'm not crazy about ads. I don't do ads of my own on Facebook because I don't like creating ads. But if Rokfin wants to create ads just telling people that I have a Rokfin channel, sure, why not? Go for it. Knock yourselves out. So I agree. They link to my page. And then, I don't hear anything for like a month. And I was like, oh, I wonder how that shit's going. Because, now we're over, my Rokfin page is over 15,000 followers, maybe getting close to 16,000. So it's doing pretty well for a fairly new page. And I didn't hear from him, and I emailed, and I'm like, hey, how's that thing going? And I still didn't hear back. And then I checked back again recently. And the guy, and I'll leave him nameless because I didn't ask permission to give out his name. But he said that when they linked, actually, I'll read you the actual email that he eventually sent me. He said, unfortunately, I had to unlink your account. I tried a couple of times to run ad campaigns from the redacted page, and soon after a campaign finally got approved after months in review, like it takes that long to review an ad, the entire Rokfin Facebook account, Rokfin's entire account on Facebook, which hosts, this is back to his words, which hosts dozens of creators' Facebook pages, got flagged and temporarily suspended the moment that they linked to my account and then put up an ad through my account or something. Back to his words, he says, it appears Facebook has blacklisted your page for political reasons, which I had told you about the suppression, but I've never seen anything this provable as to them completely viewing my page and my stuff as toxic. It appears Facebook has blacklisted your page for political reasons. Facebook would not give me specifics, however, as to what makes the ads I was running from your page suspension worthy. Suspension worthy for an ad that just says Lee Camp has a Rokfin page. So basically, because Rokfin connected to my Facebook account, they immediately got a strike. Their ability for Rokfin to advertise was immediately suspended. And basically, Facebook was saying, without saying, Lee Camp is so toxic. What he's doing is so toxic that if you show any kind of, cooperation with him, working together with him, then we will fucking suspend your account. We will go after the entire Rokfin Facebook presence if you are linked to Lee Camp's account. And keep in mind, Rokfin has a lot of other creators who say a lot of edgy shit and yet they've never dealt with this before. They have people like Sam Tripoli and many others, MMA fighters that punch the shit out of people's faces. That's not a problem. None of it's a problem except for my stuff, my anti-empire, anti-capitalist, fucking end war, let's have justice and peace message is so toxic, is so horrifying to fucking Facebook that if anyone connects to it, they then fucking suspend that account. I mean, that's incredible. I knew my account was shadow banned for the past, I've told you about it before, was shadow banned for the past 4 or 5 years. Basically, I can't gain followers. Even if you click it and it says you're following, then they either won't tell you about my stuff or they'll slowly purge people, unfollow you without telling you. But this is a different level of apparently, revelations as to what Facebook views my stuff as. Just completely toxic. Meanwhile, keep in mind, Facebook loves Fox News, loves CNN, loves MSNBC, loves any mainstream media network that is fawning over war criminals, that is excited to promote war, that is trying to manufacture consent to destroy lives around the world. All of that, Facebook is fucking celebratory. They love it. High fives. Say Facebook, think about that. Fox News basically openly supports white supremacists half the time. I mean, if you look at some of their reports, and that's also not a problem for Facebook. All of that's fine. You can support white supremacists if you're a mainstream media outlet. Totally cool. But my stuff for supporting justice and peace and an end to 1,000 military bases around the world by the U.S. empire, my stuff is too toxic for people to see. And I've told you, so I've told you about all the suppression that I faced, but this was another level of like, they're going to kill Rokfin because they linked to my account. Pretty amazing. So that is the first one of the this week in censorship. That is round one. By the way, some of you probably already heard me say this, but if you donate on the Super Chat or you donate on the Venmo at Lee Camp or you donate on Rokfin, all of those donations go to help people who are struggling, people who need a little leg up. It's our little solidarity fund, our little way of helping each other out. And, for those of you who've donated in the past to it, thank you so much. A lot of people have gotten a lot of help, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so the next thing is what's going on with Matt Orfala. If you haven't heard of Matt, he is mainly a YouTube creator, but basically a journalist. He's done great stuff in the past that I've referenced on Redacted Tonight. He was at Jim Acosta's. One of the last segments I did about Matt, he was at Jim Acosta's. That's a CNN guy, Jim Acosta. I think I have his name right. He put out a book called A Dangerous Time to Tell the Truth under the Trump administration. And yet Acosta would never say anything positive or in defense of Julian Assange. This is a guy who wrote a book called A Dangerous Time to Tell the Truth, meaning for press, for journalists. And he will not support Julian Assange, will not speak positively about him. And so Matt Orfalea was like front row at that event and demanded answers about Assange and made Jim Acosta look like a fucking idiot. So anyway, that was maybe the last time that I featured some of Matt's stuff on Redacted Tonight. So Matt does great work. And he has been recently attacked and censored in multiple ways by YouTube. You guys know about the ongoing attacks that YouTube's been doing. I told you recently that they deleted one of my videos because it revealed that Bloomberg has connections to Epstein, which they called cyberbullying. And so here is Matt's rundown of some of the details of what's happened to him for revealing the truth on his YouTube page. Although, interestingly, what they're attacking him for is started with like a 7-year-old video. So he says, YouTube has been on a fascist censorship rampage. Among other things, I've been banned and falsely accused by YouTube of involvement with violent criminal organizations. I mean, just look at his fucking thumbnail, all right? Does he, I don't know if you can see it. Does he look like he's involved in violent criminal organizations? This is a guy with an adorable red hat on in his thumbnail. He's not, you can't be a criminal organization with an adorable red hat on. So, and by the way, not a MAGA hat. It was just, he was doing Matt was doing the red hat before the red hat was a thing. Okay. He was on the other side, the cusp of the wave before it became, oh, you have on a red hat, you must be racist. You know, who could have seen that coming? So he said, I've been banned and falsely accused of violent criminal organizations. Yesterday, YouTube deleted another video. Their reasons still make no sense. Let's review. First, YouTube censored Brett Weinstein for having an honest discussion about real evidence that suggested ivermectin, which is a medicine, might be a cheap alternative, effective treatment for COVID-19. His videos were deleted. I've covered ivermectin before on Redacted Tonight. It is a medicine that is far cheaper. I believe it's generic, or generics exist, so that you could get it for, pennies compared to many of the other medicines that are being used to fight COVID-19. And so, and I did this coverage on Redacted, and many people were talking about it like 8 months ago, long before there were vaccines. While the numbers in America were still at their worst, like horrific numbers of tens of thousands of people dying. And I was saying, there was a doctor that gave congressional testimony saying ivermectin showed a lot of promise, and yet it doesn't make a lot of money for Big Pharma. So therefore, let's not talk about it. And so it's been kind of like censored to talk about ivermectin, and that's what Orfalea is referencing right here. He says, I made a video about this YouTube censorship and it's still up, but YouTube gave me a strike. And remember, I told you yesterday or the day before, if you don't know, you only get 3 strikes and then they delete your channel. With 2 strikes, I think you can't upload anything for like a week. And there might even be something like you can only upload things that are 15 minutes or less. So they put major restrictions on you after 2 strikes. And then after 3 strikes, I believe they delete your channel. YouTube so getting a strike is a fucking big deal, because it's basically saying, hey, you're on the edge of the cliff where we delete your whole channel that you've spent a decade building up a following. We're just going to delete it. We're going to act like you never existed. And you're going to lose all your videos if any of those meant anything to you that you've spent years of work on. But YouTube gave me a strike for earlier rough cuts of that video that were private and that I'd already deleted. How can I be guilty of spreading misinfo or any info with a private deleted video? Soon after, YouTube falsely accused me of involvement with, quote, violent criminal organizations and demonetized my whole channel because of a 7-year-old Starbucks commercial parody. One more strike and my entire channel, my whole life's work would be deleted. And the Starbucks video, by the way, I saw it because even though it's been deleted by YouTube, it's still available on, I think, Odyssey, which is a separate video platform, although Odyssey has some kind of deal with YouTube, so I wouldn't say Odyssey is like completely safe. Like, you can upload things to Odyssey, but I don't know that they couldn't also one day be deleted. But anyway, at the moment, if you have your YouTube connected to your Odyssey, then they can delete it on YouTube and you can still have your Odyssey video. So anyway, he put up the video of the 7-year-old Starbucks parody, which was a guy drinking Starbucks, and basically at the end of a 30-second commercial, it says, coffee for sociopaths or psychopaths or something. But it's completely harmless. I mean, even if he was portraying a mass shooter, like even if he wanted the actor to look like a mass shooter that was a real guy, it's still a harmless fucking parody of a Starbucks commercial. But yeah. So then he says, YouTube has just demonetized my entire channel for violent criminal organization. What the fuck? I was lucky enough to receive support from Glenn Greenwald, Crystal Ball, Kyle Colensi, and Jimmy Dore, and YouTube later. He forgot me. He got support from me too. Come on, Matt, get your shit together. Don't forget me. That's what this is about. This whole thing of telling your story is about me. So how dare you not mention me? And YouTube later admitted the error. However, all my hundreds of videos have still not been remonetized, and YouTube's censorship rampage continues. After everyone complained to YouTube when they demonetized my channel over a 7-year-old Starbucks ad parody, they admitted the error, but my videos are still no longer monetized. YouTube also removed Allison Morrow TV's interview with me about my crazy experience with YouTube censorship. So now you can't even talk about the censorship that you faced. But the only misinformation in the video were clips we shared of CNN and NBC. We showed how they violated YouTube's guidelines and should be deleted, CNN and NBC. But YouTube instead deleted Allison's video, interviewing me, meaning Matt, about this. YouTube rejected Allison's appeal, but after significant public backlash, YouTube quietly reinstated her video without any explanation, apology, or notification. Last night, YouTube removed my video, citing Allison's video, exposing YouTube's double standard. Mainstream media can break YouTube rules, while indie creators are punished even when they obey the rules. Please help me fight back. So that's where I think the story stands now, if I didn't miss any updates. His channel appears to still be demonetized, just like Graham Elwood's. I mean, it's completely fucked up. Many of these people are like, they've been scraping by as YouTube creators, and many of them are doing very good work, but that's what YouTube wants to stop. And that's because YouTube is our ruling elite, right? They are now part of it. They're part of the system and connected to our government. And so they are crushing channels that reveal the truth. Luckily, I only had that one strike that I told you about last week that they then apologized for, said it turned out we thought the strike was more extreme than it was. So we're going to take the strike away. This is what YouTube said to me, but we're going to keep the video deleted. And I'm like, about Bloomberg and Epstein, because it's cyberbullying. The fuck? And by the way, this is also, and I'm sure it's hurt me in numbers in certain ways, but it's also why my titles aren't always very clear. I don't have any tags on my videos, or I have very few tags, because I assume that you tag it with any of the information that you're actually talking about. If I talk about censorship, if I talk about terrorism, if I talk about, fucking capitalism, all of these things, if I put those tags in there so that you could accurately find the video, police abuse, police brutality, if I put those tags in there, then they're going to fucking delete my channel. So, yeah, I have to make these things vaguer. My titles are like "Guy Does Thing," so that I don't have the words in there that they find offensive. Guy wearing badge who might be connected to an organization, wink, wink, does bad thing. Because I'm talking about like police brutality. So I've got to make everything vague. Yeah. Breaking news. Person is criminal, person connected to the legislature might be connected to villains. Like, how do you describe a video when you can't fucking say anything or they delete your channel? But yeah, so that continues to go on with Matt Orfala. If you want to follow his Twitter and learn more about it, it's @Orf, ORF. Surprised @Orf wasn't taken. You'd think there'd be a lot of people tripping over themselves to get the old Orf. You really want the Twitter Orf. So, all right, I got one. That's 2 down in this week in censorship. I need some sort of fucking flying logo. This week in censorship. That's 2 down. The censorship against me, censorship against Matt Orfala. And now we're getting to the good stuff. Well, that was all good stuff. But now we're getting to something even larger in a way. Although arguably less detrimental to the person's career. But so there is a reporter named Alex Rubinstein, who I know, who does great work. Certainly referenced his stuff before. He's worked at many different outlets, including Mint Press and the Gray Zone and stuff. But this article about the censorship against him is at Mint Press. You can also find it at radindiemedia.com, which is the new site I just launched. That's RADINDIE media.com. So this is Alex detailing how he was actually invited to be a contract writer, a contract reporter. And Alex is anti-empire. He's standing up against the American empire and all of its manifestations and the coups it's trying to create around the world. All good shit. Stuff you would not expect to see on the mainstream media, right? You're not gonna see an article about how the U.S. is trying to create a coup in Venezuela, or the harm the sanctions are doing, or what we're doing in Cuba or Haiti. You're not really gonna see that stuff on your mainstream media, not much. So that's what Alex does, and so you wouldn't think that guy would be offered a contract with a somewhat mainstream media outlet, which is Business Insider. So Alex gets this contract with Business Insider where they say, we want you to write us several pieces a month and we'll pay you $500 a piece. Great. $500 to write an article. And he puts together he said he talks to them on email and they say, we like your writing and everything. And here's the thing, Business Insider, and I've quoted them on Redacted Tonight before, Business Insider, because they're somewhat going for some clickbait, they have had a fair amount of good reporting if you can find it. Now, if you were to just go to Business Insider right now and their front page, you're probably going to see a bunch of mainstream shit. But occasionally they have these good articles because they're going for clickbait, and some of their clickbait is to do stuff that reveals the U.S. empire or something like that. So, like one of the things I quoted them on recently was they had a great article on the hundreds of times that our U.S. military has done bioweapons attacks on Americans, on the American fucking United States continent. I mean, it's not a continent. I get that we're part of a continent, but the nation, the continental United States. That's what I should have said. But literally our military, and I covered this on Redacted Tonight. I wrote a column about it. So if you didn't catch it, then you're really missing everything. But our military has tested bioweapons on the American people, killing some people hundreds of times. They've tested these things since the 1950s. And But Business Insider did some great reporting on it. So I fucking quoted their article on it. Anyway, that's all to say that they're mainstream, but it's slightly understandable that they would reach out to someone like Alex Rubinstein. So Alex gets his contract, signs the contract. Great, $500 a piece. All right, let's do it. Pitches a topic, which is revealing how the Chinese lab leak theory is bullshit. And I've mentioned this before. It's initially our mainstream media said the Chinese lab leak theory, which was created in Trump's racist brain, was bullshit. Last year, they said it was bullshit. Last year, they laughed at it. They called it a conspiracy. Now that Joe Biden is in office, Trump's not in office, and Biden realizes, hey, blaming all of COVID-19 on China sounds pretty good. That sounds like a great idea. We're creating a new Cold War against China. Why not blame all this death and destruction on China? Boy, Trump had a wonderful idea. That's what Biden's saying right now. Boy, I really like this racist shit Trump came up with. So Biden has now said, oh, we're investigating it. There's the mainstream media keeps running reports. Oh, the Chinese lab leak theory has some legs. Oh, it might be true that maybe there is something with the Chinese lab leak theory. And it's funny to watch the mainstream media all get in line because they're like the marching little robots that you wind up the back of. And at first they were all going towards like Chinese lab leak conspiracy theory by stupid Donald Trump. And then the fucking corporate state after Biden got in office took each one of the marching dolls and just pointed them the other direction. And they just wound that thing up again. And they all just started marching off in the other direction. Chinese lab leak theory is totally true. And it's amazing to watch. It's truly tremendous. So anyway, however, you can still find a report. Yahoo News actually had a headline where they were like, there's still no evidence of a Chinese lab leak theory. So yeah, there's that. So I assume that's what Alex's article was also about. There's not actually any evidence to support that. So Alex pitches that article. They say, yeah, go for it. He goes, he writes the article. He sends it in. You know, the U.S. probably also saying things like the U.S. is in a new Cold War trying to create a new Cold War with China. This benefits our propaganda. So why not put forward this theory that it has no proof? And so he just breaks apart this fucking garbage hoax that is U.S. propaganda. And that's when things start to unravel. Business Insider says, yeah, we're not so sure about that article. We don't know if we can run that one. And they give them a little back and forth. And then they say, yeah, our goals have changed and we can't run your article. And also we can't work with you anymore. Like literally they tore up the contract before ever publishing a single article by a well-respected anti-American empire, anti-war journalist who actually was like revealing the problems with this imperial shit show of ours. They tore up the contract without ever publishing a piece. And it wasn't like they didn't know what he did. They knew what he did. But what he thinks happened, and what sounds, in my experience with certain organizations like this as well, is what likely happened is that a lower editor who was in charge of finding some new voices that were out on the edge, that were doing some really important work and pushing the borders and doing stuff that's outside what CNN would do, that kind of thing. He goes off and he hires Alex and says, oh, this is perfect. And then the higher up sees the first article and says, we wouldn't publish something like this. This doesn't go in line with the U.S. propaganda. And then that guy, the higher up, looks into Alex's record and goes, oh my God, he worked for the Gray Zone. He worked for Mint Press. Jesus Christ. This guy's toxic as fuck. He worked for RT. Oh my God. What a criminal mastermind. This resume is a fucking trifecta of fucking awful anti-US propaganda shit. And so literally just rip up the contract because they can't handle the truth of the mainstream media. And yes, if you want to say it in your own head, you can yell, you can't handle the truth like Jack Nicholson. But I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much you call for it. It's not happening. Not doing it. You have to do the you can't handle the truth on your own. So listen, some of this is for you to do. I can't do all the work. You've seen A Few Good Men. You can fucking do it yourself. But also, great point in this article is that Business Insider is owned by a company. Let's see, by the company Axel Springer, a publishing house, digital publishing house. And here are this is an actual company code that is given to employees at Axel Springer, including people that work at Business Insider. Essentials. We stand up for freedom, the rule of law, democracy, and a united Europe. Number 2, we support the Jewish people and the right of existence of the state of Israel. Do you really think you need the state of Israel in your fucking company code? I mean, that's insane. We demonstrate solidarity with the free values of the United States of America. I mean, honestly, do you want to just fucking stick a flag up your ass and start singing the Star-Spangled Banner? This is supposed to be company code, not your patriotism garbage. We uphold the principles of a free market economy and its social responsibility. Free market economy is code for capitalism crushing everybody in the world except for the top 1%. And number 5, we reject political and religious extremism and all forms of racism and sexual discrimination, except that we're going to prop up the white supremacist American state through most of our reporting, but we're going to act like we're against racism. So we're going to do all this. It's like the New York Times. We're going to do all this reporting about how terrible racism is, but all of our propaganda will further the white supremacist U.S. state, the white supremacist U.S. empire that basically bombs brown people, as George Carlin said. What is more white supremacist than mainly bombing brown people? So anyway, this is 3 stories that all came together, that all happened this week, that I felt show kind of, you put them all together and you see where things are headed, but have been headed for a long time. I mean, you have Facebook making sure that companies, organizations, outlets can't do business with the likes of this guy because I'm so scary and toxic because I dare be anti-war. You have YouTube going after video creators simply because they cover something like ivermectin, or they, in my case, cover something like Bloomberg having ties to Epstein. YouTube will attack us, call us criminal entities or whatever they said Orphala is. With me, they said I was guilty of cyberbullying. Apparently Bloomberg, I've been cyberbullying. I fucking don't know. And then with Alex Rubinstein, you have mainstream media outlet offering a contract to someone and then realizing what it is the person does and immediately ripping up the contract and acting like it never happened. So all of that's this week. That's just this week. And I haven't even gotten into, actually, maybe I'll go ahead and get into it. This is a form of censorship, I'd say. Cornel West resigning from Harvard, basically forced to resign from Harvard. You guys all know Cornel West, and I'm going to show you that this article's at Rad Indie Media right now, actually. There's the article right there with Cornel West's lovely face. And he's just a lovely man. Sorry. He was also one of the elders of Zion in Max in the Matrix. So, I mean, how can you not, like, literally he was one of the elders of Zion. You can go back and watch. So if you I mean, who doesn't trust the Elders of Zion in Matrix? I mean, like, that's fucking all you need to know, isn't it? Like, isn't that all you need to know Cornel West is fucking legit? So Cornel West, professor, the widely beloved professor, one of the I'd say the most famous professors in the United States right now. Cornel West, Professor Cornel West, was not given tenure at Harvard, despite the fact that he's like way overqualified. He had the endorsement of all of his colleagues. They refused to give him tenure. And he says in his resignation letter that it's because of his endorsement and support for the Palestinian people. So if you stand up for people that are incredibly persecuted and attacked on a daily basis, 4 hours of electricity every day in many places, not getting clean water, 90% of the water is not clean and drinkable, can't escape, open air prison. If you stand up for those people, you then get repercussions from an institution like Harvard that many people in our country hold up as the holiest of most wonderful universities. Harvard, you went to Harvard. You must be brilliant. It's held up. But in fact, Harvard is a factory for the ruling elite. That's what it is. And so it makes sense that they would not support someone like Cornel West that does amazing work exposing our empire, exposing the ruling elite for what they are, exposing capitalism for what it does. It makes sense. But anyway, he resigned this week, yesterday, I believe, and said that wasn't the only reason, but he was just treated like shit and not given tenure and not paid nearly what he was paid at other universities, et cetera, et cetera. But, and one of the most fascinating things I found from his letter of resignation was that he said that one of the things they did to him, and this all could be connected to his support for Palestinians, but one of the things they did to him was all of his classes, he said, and he taught several, were listed as African American studies, even if it had nothing to do with African Americans. Simply because he's black, it's all African American. He could have been teaching fucking calculus. They would have called it African American studies. I believe he lists existentialism as one of his courses, and they listed under African American studies, which if he's not connecting it to being African American, then how is that African American studies? Just because he's black, anything he says is African American studies? If he taught a cooking course, if he taught a fucking astrology, if he had a sew clothing, that's African American studies. If he taught anthropology, if he taught fucking whatever the class is where they teach you about plants, if he taught that one, is it African American studies? But who knows whether that's connected to his support of Palestinians or that's just connected to Harvard being idiot racist fucks. Tough to say. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe they're just idiot racist fucks. That, honestly, I changed my mind. In defense of Harvard, they are idiot racist fucks. Cornell, you are giving them way too much credit for thinking they had some sort of ulterior motives. They're just idiot racist fucks. They didn't know. They didn't know what they were doing because their idiot racist fuck brains got in the way. So they didn't know. But so, yeah, I'll throw that into the censorship bucket. All this week, everything I've covered for the past 40 minutes is this week of censorship. It's fucking insane. It's insane how much is going on to crush all of this. And I know I keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it. There's a lot of things that I do to try and avoid this, to try and fight it, to try and fight against this censorship, and to support other great writers and other great people that make videos, support them dealing with this censorship. And one of those things is this new project, Rad Indie Media. And you might wonder, well, how does that get around censorship? It's just a website. and it links to a bunch of other websites. But it's not, as you can see, there's no ads. It's not trying to advertise to you in order to make money. It's completely designed to just keep all of these things kind of on the front page for you, so that if you check this every morning, check it every morning, just look at it once a day, see, if there's nothing there you're interested in, then fine. Fuck you, but fine. I mean, fine. That's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, also fuck you, but fine. But it's just something you check every day. And what that'll do is, let's say Graham Elwood's channel gets deleted on YouTube. He's already been demonetized. Or let's say my channel gets deleted on YouTube. Or let's say that the Gray Zone no longer shows up in Google searches. Or that Twitter deletes the Gray Zone's Twitter account. And we're already all heavily suppressed, but it could get even worse. As those things happen, if you already have a place that you go to check for what's going on in the world, then you will still find those articles. You'll still find the Gray Zone articles. You'll still find some Graham Elwood stuff, some Ron Bacone stuff, Jimmy Dore. You'll still find stuff from the Canary, which is a great British outlet. You'll still find stuff from Mint Press, even if their Facebook gets deleted. So it's hopefully we can all start, finding ways to keep this shit going as we continue to be crushed. I mean, I wish I'd started this site 10 years ago and it was already just a normal thing to do, but better late than never. So Eleanor Goldfield and I have started this site along with Christopher Johnson and Margaret Flowers of Popular Resistance. And yeah, as you'll see if you go there, it's not meant to sell ads or anything else. It's just meant to show you important news, important sources. All right. Well, if you want to support my work, my stuff, then you can donate at liberapay.com/LeeCamp, LIBERAPAY.com/LeeCamp. But all the super chat donations, all the donations of Rokfin, all the donations of Venmo at LeeCamp, those all go to help people who are struggling, to help people who need a hand up, and you can, or a leg up? I guess they need a hand to get a leg up. Why? I don't if you need a hand, give me a hand so I can get this leg up. I'm trying to get a leg up. So here's my hand. I don't know if that really works. When you give me your leg, and be like, here's my leg. I'm trying to get a leg up. Can you grab my leg, tell me get this leg up? I'm trying to pull myself up by my bootstraps. So if you grab my boot, I could get a leg up with my bootstraps. But then what happened to the hand? Whose hand was it? Am I getting your hand? And if your hand is used to grab my leg, maybe we still get both. Then when you gave me a hand and I got my leg up because you grabbed my leg. I mean, I don't know if you grabbing my leg's really going to help though. It doesn't sound like it'd be really helpful. Not sure. We're gonna dig into that next week. Okay, guys, that is the episode. Go to radindymedia.com and you can sign up for the email list too, hopefully, and check it out. And I'd love for you to bookmark it and make it something you go to every day. There's a new Redacted Night as of last Friday. If you haven't watched it already, that's at leecamp.com. There's new Government Secrets out, my podcast with Graham Elwood. There's a new Common Censored. New-ish, I guess. The other new Common Censored will be up in like a day. Those are my two podcasts, and I think that's it. Keep fighting. I'm going to keep fighting. I don't care if they can delete all the channels. Honestly, if they delete all my channels and delete all the important channels, I'll just yell out this window here. I'll just see if I can get anybody across the way to kind of look in this direction. I mean, they can't. The window's pretty soundproof, so they won't be able to hear anything, but I could still yell in that direction. So let's make that a plan. If they delete Rad Indie Media, if they delete leecamp.com, if they delete my YouTube and my Facebook and my Twitter, I'll be here yelling at that window, okay? So just come and if you line up out here, then, I mean, you wouldn't hear much. I suppose I could go outside. but that sounds like a bit much. So I don't have time for that. All right, guys, keep fighting.